Okay, recording has started. So, as I was saying, as a product manager, as a product leader, it is essential to have a strong understanding of the engineering methodologies, the product architecture, stakeholder management, release coordinators, development tools, requirements, gathering design thinking, UX, product metrics, and more. So, we're going to start with the product engineering management methodologies, which we've dived into it last week. Like we've earlier stated, we have, excuse me, here we have the five. So I'll just make a recap since we've gone through it last week. So first we have the agile methodology. The agile methodology is a product management approach that prioritizes cross-functional collaboration and continuous improvements. It divides projects into small phases and guides team through cycles of planning, execution, and evaluation. So for my class, I like giving practical examples, and we could look at agile methodology as Nigerian. I hope we're all Nigerians here, or our system of education generally. Agile methodology is just like our system of education, in the sense that by the time you graduate from secondary school, you're able to catch up from anywhere. You could start, you could just learn a handwork and you continue, you grow. You could stay at home for as long as you want until you're able to gather yourself, gain admission, and then venture into a high institution. And a high institution is not static. It could be a university, it could be a college of education, it could be a polytechnic for you to just get a diploma or any other certification. So agile methodology gives us the space to break down our projects into phases, into different stages. And then when it is done, just like we said in our last class, that we prioritize the features that we feel are much more important that we need to start with. And then gradually we get feedback from users, we get feedback from customers, and then we come back and rebuild and we add up those features to it. So that is a typical example of an agile methodology. And I hope that example makes it clearer for us or easier for us to understand what agile methodology is. Then the second one we have is the waterfall. The waterfall methodology is a linear approach of software development. It follows a sequential order, with each phase being completed before moving into the next phase. I'll also use our system of education as an example for this. And I'm going to use the early stage example, the early stage of our education as an example for this. The waterfall is more like your nursery. Sorry, let's start from play class, your preschool play class, to the nursery, to the primary school, or to the pre-primary kindergarten, then to the primary school, and then to the secondary school. And at this stage, you can't skip any of the stages. You have to pass through one, graduate from one class to the other. There's no two ways about it. For you to be able to go to the next class, you have to pass the previous class. And that is a typical example of waterfall. Or probably let's use another example is a building. When you're putting up a structure, you have to start from first a survey of the land. Then you have to probably employ an architect to make a design that is befitting for the line. that for the land that suits your own idea or your own needs. Then from there, you get a project manager who will employ labor to dig the foundation, then cast the foundation, then lay the bricks till it gets to the linter, they cast the linter, and then so on. At this stage, you can't start building by putting off the roof first. No, it has to be from the foundation upward. That is a typical example of waterfall methodology. And basically, the other methodologies partially fits into those two methodologies. So basically, these are the two strong methodologies that we have, the agile and the waterfall, because somehow, the other three find a way to fix themselves into those first two that we have. So the third one we have is the lean. The lean methodology feature, it focuses on maximizing customers' value while minimizing waste. It emphasizes continuous improvement and eliminates non-value added activities. Just like I explained earlier, I said it fits into one of them, and this fits into the agile methodology. Even though the agile methodology could be wasteful, that is the difference between the agile and the lean methodology, because for the lean methodology, you have to analyze the risk involved and the ways of mitigating those risks. That is just the difference. But for agile methodology, you could just dive into it as far as you see a market, and you just dive into the market and you make products and you start selling while getting feedbacks. But for lean, you have to sit down and analyze the risks involved and methods of mitigating it. Okay, just like I said, I made an example of the building. You employ an architect or a project manager, to assist you in planning and finding a way to mitigate risk. But if you just take like a quack, or you just decide, okay, I know I have the idea in my head. Okay, it's a 2-bedroom I want to construct. So let me just get bricklayers to come and start. You end up having a lot of waste, in the process. So for lean methodology, you have to plan and find a way, analyze the risk and find a way to mitigate those risks. That is the difference between lean methodology and agile methodology. Then we have the Kanban methodology, which is the fourth methodology. Kanban is a visual workflow management system that promotes a just-in-time approach to work. It emphasizes limiting work in progress and optimizing flows to ensure faster and smoother delivery. This falls under waterfall methodology. The Kanban falls under waterfall methodology because for Kanban, it follows a workflow. You have to sit and you put a workflow in progress. And after putting that workflow in progress, you follow that workflow in order to limit the stress and the work of coming back to come and analyze all over again. You'd have analyzed from the beginning, then you put the workflow in progress, then you invite every other person to come build the product with you. And when I say any other person, it means the engineering team to come and make the work, to come and follow the work process, which makes work faster and smoother because you already have timelines assigned to those. You already have the task ahead of time. You already have the picture of where you're going to, the product, the product you want to build, the features you want inculcated in those features. You already have the PRD in place. Let me use the word PRD now. You already have the PRD in place. Then you put a work breakdown structure in place, and then you place a time limit on it. And the easiest way to do this is by having sprints, following the sprint methodology of work process. So the Kanban here falls under waterfall methodology. I hope I'm making sense.
Yes.
Okay, are we following? All right, thank
Yes,
you
we
for
are.
the response. Then we have the spiral up shape. The spiral methodology combines elements of both waterfall and iterates approaches. This improves cycles of risk analysis, prototyping, and evaluation to incrementally build and refine those products. The spiral methodology is well suited for projects with high uncertainty and evolving requirements. So basically, this fits into both the agile and the waterfall, because this is a project where you have no idea what the end product is going to be. Let's take, for instance, you just heard, okay, there's money in fintech. There's money in fintech. There's money in fintech. But you really don't know what you actually want out of that fintech that you want to build. But you know there's money into it, and you decided to just dive into it. You get a designer, you get a back end engineer, you get a front end engineer, you get a mobile app engineer, and then you just dive into it. And basically, you agree with me that in this kind of situation, you have to adopt the both agile and waterfall methodology, because you really do not have the idea, the picture of what you want. Rather than, it is easier for someone who has the end picture. Like I was saying earlier, let me use the example of the building or even the education. If you want to build, you have a land and you want to build, but you really don't know what you want to build. And then you say, okay, bricklayers, I have the cement, I have the money, I have the blocks, I have the wood that is needed, I have the pillars, I have everything that is needed to the paint. Oh yeah, come and build something on this land. You agree with me that mistakes are bound to happen. Then you might not end up liking the design, and at some point you have to be like, okay, let's bring this down. Okay, can I have the toilet fixed here? Can I have the kitchen fixed there? And all those things will actually boil down to waste and risk. It also takes our time because we don't have the end picture in mind. But if you already have what you have in mind, and you say, okay, I want a 2 or 3 bedroom flat. This is what I want. I want my kitchen to be like this. I want the toilet to be this way. I want the bedroom to be in this direction. I want the sitting room to be like this. It's actually easier for you to know, to have, okay, to know if, okay, you want to follow the agile methodology or the waterfall methodology. But in the case where you don't have the end picture in mind, then we use the spiral methodology, which combines both agile and waterfall methodology. So this brings us to the end of the type of product engineering management methodologies that we have. And we'll go to the next one, which is our next topic, which is the product architecture. So I hope we're following.
Yes.
If you have
Yeah.
any question, you could just drop it on the chat box, and when we're done, we'll respond to the questions. Thank you. Or if you want me to reiterate, you could just unmute and let me know. Thank you. So the next thing we're looking at is the product architecture. Product architecture refers to the high-level structure and design of a product. It defines how the different components and subsystem of a product interacts with each other. A well-designed product architecture is crucial for several reasons. So this actually speaks about how the product development procedures interact with each other. Every component has a way to interact with each other. And the reasons why the knowledge of the product architecture is important is because, one, for scalability purpose, for maintenance purpose, for extensibility purpose, and modularity purpose. Okay, I'll explain one after the other. So the first we're looking at is for scalability purpose. And a robust product architecture allows for scalability. enabling the product to handle increase user load and accommodate future growth. So basically, if you're making a product, you're giving room for increments. You're giving room for more users to be able to use that product. And that reason why scalability is important. And if your product is not scalable, it is bound to crash. We use, like, we're in the tech system, so I will use the software product as an example. We all have encounter with an app or a system that you log into it and it's up and functioning, and after a while it crashes and they just have to lock it up for a while. And then for those who are able to come back to market, it takes like at least 3 weeks for them to be able to come back to market. But it actually happens because they didn't give room for scalability. Well, if you're creating a product, it is important that you give room for scalability. There's room for increments. Then we also have for maintainability. A well-structured architecture makes it easier to maintain and enhance the product over time. It facilitates efficient debugging, troubleshooting, and adding new features or integration. When you we had a study of the PRD the last class we had, and in your PRD there's a place for feature references, the features you want to add in the nearest feature. And if you don't give room for maintainability, you would not be able to add up those features. And that is why your PRD is important. That is why you have to be specific in your PRD, because your PRD will actually give the developers or the dev team, the idea of the kind of product you want them to build, the kind of hosting they would use, the kind of software they would use to host the website. So if the room for maintenance is not given, it takes just like I said, the product will have to fizzle out in time because it would become outdated. It won't be able to revolutionize. And we have extensibility. Product architecture should be designed to accommodate future expansions or modification. It should provide flexibility or integrate new technologies or adopting to changing market needs. And okay, I would use powerplug.ng as an example. Sorry about that. I'll use powerplug.ng as an example because presently we're actually working on the version 0.2, and it's because we've given room for extensibility. That is why we're able to do that. And the version 0.2, sorry, it's going to be like an added features that we're going to launch into the first version that we have. We created the app and the site, the software product, in the sense that with time, within demand, we keep adding features and we keep removing features, which brings us back to the methodology. We adopted the agile methodology. So we launched the product when we saw the market, and then we keep making changes, we keep adding features, and we keep removing those that are dormant. And I remember we had to work on the site to remove some of the codes that were not functional, that were dormant for a while, that we no longer need on the site, to optimize the site, to make it, when I say optimize, it means to make the site load faster because it was lagging at some point. So we had to do that. That is a typical example of extensibility, and I hope the example makes it easier for us to understand. Then lastly, we have for modularity. A modular architecture allows for independent development and testing of different components. This promotes faster iteration and easier maintenance. So basically, this gives for modularity purpose, we create products for modularity purpose to give us room for testing. And this actually, you get to understand this when you work with engineers. They have a local platform where they test products. So your product should be able to be tested locally before it is being released publicly to the general public, to the users. And at this stage, it gives you room to like go through the features, to detect errors, and then make corrections. Where the code is failing, it gives room for them to decode, it gives room for debugging, and it also gives room and opportunity for cybersecurity analysts to come in place when you build products and you set in the architectural design for modularity. Thank you. So I hope we are understanding it. Are we all following?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
Yes.
I guess I'll pause and see if there are any questions from what we've covered so far. So is there any question so far? If you have a question, you could just unmute and speak.
Yes. So I sent a question on the chat, so I can just ask here. So I'm
Okay.
asking if the PRD is like the most important document in the planning process for a product manager. Would you say that's the most important document you've ever had to create?
Not the most. Every document is important as a product manager. Every document is important because you have to make references to those documents. And for stakeholder, the reason why every document is important is for effective stakeholder management. If you don't document those meetings, if you don't document those ideas with dates, if possible with time, you would end up having issues with your stakeholders, because most time stakeholders are not certain what they want. And when I say stakeholders, I mean the product owners, the founders. They really don't know what they want specifically. They just feel, okay, I have this idea and I feel it will bring in money, and I have investors, or I have the money to invest. So let's dive into it. And with time, they keep on changing their thoughts and the ideas they have, which brings me back to why I said every document is important. As a product manager, the essence of documentation cannot be overemphasized as a product manager. Because if you don't document those things, I can deny anything I say. I can tell you that, okay, this is not what I said. But if you have it documented, and okay, while documenting, make sure you ask questions. Be sure of what the person is saying. Ask questions like, is this what you meant? Is this what you want? Is this the picture of what you want? Kindly repeat yourself again, or kindly explain again, so I can have a clear picture of what you want, or the end product you want. Then another reason why documentation is important is, apologies to use these words, but developers can be funny. They can be funny in the sense that most of them need a secluded and a quiet environment to work. So they work, basically, most of them work at night. They are more active at night because they need concentration to code and do their work. So basically, if you don't document those things properly and give them that idea, they can't jump on a call with you whenever they are working on the product. So the document you give them is what they refer to. And that is why it feels as though the PRD is the most important document. But every document is important to a product manager. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thanks. So how, like, for the PRD now, how important is that document in the context of all other documents that needs to be created? So do you think there's like a linkage there?
I will still repeat what I said earlier. Every document is important. Every document is important, because if you sideline one document, you're giving room for a loop in your structure. And once you have structural issues as a product manager, you keep having issues with the developers, you keep having issues with the designers, you keep having issues with the stakeholders. But then, for the purpose of building a product, the most important document for the purpose of building a product and collaborating with the development team, the PRD is important. For the purpose of developing a product and collaboration, the PRD is important, or is the most important. But in hierarchy, every document is equally important to a product manager and the product team. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other question? Or we can go ahead.
Well, for me, sorry, I'm not trying to drag you back or take us off limit, but I just wanted to ask, in an environment, now you are not mentioning documentation. Is it possible in an environment where you have a product manager, you still have a business analyst? Because with what I understand, I think before a product is being bought, I think it comes, the stakeholders, I think they hire a business analyst first who actually make a business case or things like that. Please clarify that point for me, please. Thank you.
Oh, okay. A business analyst is someone who analyzes the scalability of a product. That's the future of the product, the markets, who analyzes the market fit of a product. That is the work of a business analyst. And a product manager is someone who manages the product from inception until that product gains market fit. And then back to the process again, because your work does not stop when your product gains market fit. When your product gains market fit, that is when you get feedbacks from users, and then you come back to iterate over your product again. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, okay. Let's continue.
But then, as a product manager, if it is possible, it is important for you to have an idea of business analysis, because it helps you know how scalable your product will be in the nearest future. Any other question? Okay, I guess we can move ahead from here. So next we're looking at the product components and the various product stakeholders. Products consist of various components, both technical and non-technical components, and we're going to look at them one after the other. Technical components include the software, the hardware, the database, the APIs, and their integrations. While the non-technical components...
Hello, your screen is showing technical stakeholders. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I'm coming back to explain that. I'm just trying to give us an overview of...
Okay.
the whole...
I thought you were...
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So while the non-technical components include user's interface, documentation, support system, and so on, it's essential for product managers to identify and manage the different stakeholders' involvement in product development. And we'll take them one after the other. We have under the technical stakeholders, we have the engineers. And for the engineers, we have, engineers are typically those who build the product. They are those who code for us. So they're technically those who build the product. And for the engineers, we have the front end engineers. We have the back end engineers. The front end are those who build the interface, like the user experience. Then we have the back end. They are those that host those things. They're the ones that code from the back end to support, to make those features functional. When you click on them, they become responsive. Then we have the mobile app developers. Those ones are responsible for developing our apps that we can download on our mobiles and make use of them. Then we have the designers. The designers are those that prototype and build the wireframes of our product. Those are the technical stakeholders that we have. Then we have the non-technical stakeholders. We have the marketing team. Just like one of us asked about the business analyst. The business analysts falls under the non-technical stakeholders. We have the marketing team, those that market our products to the general public. Then we have the sales team, those that goes to the customers to sell the product. Why we have both sales and marketing team is because they both function differently. Even though in a case where the capability of the company is not large enough to accommodate both as different, they could all work as one. Both the marketing and sales team could be merged together. Then we have those we build the product for, which are the customers. And basically, the customers are the kings because they are the main reason why we build those products. They are the ones that will use the product. So we refer to them as the kings in this context. Thank you. So any question on that?
Yes. So for you said the goal for product managers is to achieve product market fit. So for the technical and non-technical stakeholders, do they have any goal?
Well, basically, their goal is to build your product for you based on specification. That is just their goal. For the technical team, their goal is to build your product based on specification, based on what you give them. And that is why I said it feels as when it comes to building your product and teamwork, it is important that your PRD is specific. And your PRD is like the most important document when it comes to building the product and collaboration with the development team. So basically for the technical stakeholders, their goal is to build your product based on specification, and you are the one giving them those specifications using your PRD. Then for the non-technical stakeholders, their goal is to bring markets, to sell your product and to make user experience seamless. That's for the customer care. They help in making your user experience seamless. They help in resolving issues with users' experience or the issues the users have interacting with your product. Then for the marketing and for the sales team, they help bring users to you. They help tell the users, they help create awareness. The marketing team help create awareness of your product. And that is why there's this saying that it is not the best product that sells, but the best marketed product. So the marketing team markets your product to, they bring your product to the limelight of users. they market your products to users and create that awareness of your product. And the sales team take your products to the users. They convince the users to interact with your product. That is what the sales team does. And I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Yeah, so PMs just come in between the process, the technical guys and the non-technical guys, right?
Not just the technical, yes, but not only the technical and the non-technical, but also the product owners. The product owners, the founders, the co-founders, and also yes, because the customers are also part of the non-technical, yes. So the PM is the middleman that stands between the product owners, which are the founders and co-founders, the development team, which are the technical team, and the non-technical team. And this is how it works. The co-founders might not even know who the developers are, except if you have the founders, sorry, might not even know who the developers are, who the designers are, except if it is someone who likes interacting with other people you're working with. But if not, it might not even know who is working on what, because all they know is they've given the PM, they've explained to the product manager what they want, and they are pumping in the money, and they expect the product to be delivered in time. And they expect that the product is launched in 3-4 months' time. And they don't care to know what stress the product manager has to go through to get that done. Then the product manager now interprets that into a product requirement document and then sends it to first the designer. Then the designer now interprets the PRD into the user interface, a prototype, using Figma or whichever design platform is convenient for the designer. And then sends that Figma file or the design file to the front end person, the front end engineer. Then the front end engineer designs the user interface and then sends the file to the back end engineer. Then the back end engineer codes and makes it responsive. Then at that point, when it's responsive, it is now still brought back to the product manager. And the product manager will have to vet the work they've done, be sure they did exactly what they translated exactly what the PRD says, or whatever is in the PRD, the product requirements document. All the features are there and every aspect is responsive. Detect error both in the user interface, typography, the product theme, the product color, the product tone, the product voice, and then make sure it is fit to be released. Then it is released, or probably before it is released, you might employ the services of the marketers to preach the product to users, to create the awareness that, okay, well, this product is coming. And that is why most at times you see billboards. The product is not yet out, but they're creating that awareness that the product will soon be out. You'd see adverts, you hear radio jingles, just to create that awareness. And that process continues even when the product is released. Then from there, the sales team picks it up. They pick the product and they take it to the users. It is now the sales team that will inform the users that, okay, well, this product you have been hearing about, is now in the market. This is how it is being used. This is the importance of the product. Just test it and let's see, give us feedback. And this is how it flows. Then the feedback is still brought back to the product manager. Okay, this is what our customer said. One of our customers said he enjoyed the product, but like 10 of our customers have complaints. They don't like the taste, or they don't like the smell. They don't like the interface. Your 404 message sounds insultive. It's too harsh. Your tone is too harsh. And so on. And then you have to now still interpret those response you get from the users and translate it into your PRD and still send it back for the team to work on. Does this explain the process? And does that make it clearer?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Hello? Was I able to answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you very much. So, any other question or we move on? Can we move on? Sorry, what time is our class ending?
So it ends by 6.
Oh, it's after 6. So I guess we'll stop here. And we continue from product release cadence the next class. I was hoping it's going to be 2 hours. So generally, any question from what we've learned so far?
Yeah, you spoke about a business analyst and what they do for the team, right? And I'm beginning to hear a term like product analyst. So are they the same people? Do they perform the same function?
Is the same function they perform, but basically a business analyst analyzes any business, and a product analyst analyzes software products. That is just the difference.
Okay, so the metrics that will drive a product versus the metrics that will drive a business.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other question?
Yeah, like a startup business, is it possible to be able to employ a business analyst, have a product manager, and in an environment where they use things like Agile, Scrum, they're able to employ product owner and Scrum Master and all that? Is it really visible in Nigerian context?
In Nigerian context, it is difficult. It all depends on the financial strength of the startup. And we have big startups and small startups. If it's a big startup, why not? Which means they have the financial capability and the product, the market is large. They're looking at a large market before launch. So they should be able to have a robust team that would contain all that. But where the finances are limited or the resources are limited, that is why I said it is important for a product manager to have an idea of business analysis. It still boils down to the product manager. Because if the product fails, it still boils down to the product manager. If the product succeeds, the glory still falls back to the product manager. And I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. More questions, please. I'll take 2 more questions if there's any, so I don't take much of your time.
I think there's one in the chat.
Okay, let me check. Okay, how much knowledge does a product manager need to know data analysis or business analysis? Well, as much as you can get, as much knowledge as you can. No knowledge is waste. So as much knowledge as you can acquire, please feel free to. I hope that answers the question. So basically, I would want us to drop one thing that stood out for us in this class. And we round up with that. Thank you. You can unmute and just say one thing that stood out for you in this class. I'll take 3. And then we round up the class. And we meet next class. Thank you. Is anyone speaking?
Okay, so for me is the fact that PMs play like a multifunctional role in the process of trying to bring a product to life. So they work with the technical guys, non-technical, the product owners, which are basically the founders, and other stakeholders as the projects would need. So the fact that they have to play a dual role is something huge.
Okay. Thank you for stating that out, Musa. Thank you very much. Who else wants to tell us what stood out for him or her in this class? Feel free to unmute. Two more to go. Or should we call it a day?
Good evening.
Okay. All right, let me give the other person a chance.
Okay, thank you, Frederick. Manfred, you can go ahead. Then Frederick will speak after you.
Okay, for me, every document is very important. Sorry. Every document is very important. That's what stood out for me. So you just know the one that you collaborate, the one that is for easy collaboration with the team, design team, developer team, and the rest, and the product owners and the rest.
Okay, thank you very much for stating out, Manfred.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to chip in is that for a product manager, being someone who is multitasking, that can collaborate with any team, irrespective of even status, I hope the person is, or the job title is handsomely rewarded.
Well, like I said earlier, it all depends on the capability of your company. You can be compensated as a product manager, you can be compensated in many ways. You could be compensated by the amount of the salary you earn, or you could do a volunteer work. You get data stipends, and then when the product is launched, you get a stake out of it. That is why I said you can be rewarded different. There are different rewards that comes to a product manager. So it depends on your agreement with the product owners. And it is also important as a product manager for you to always have it at the back of your mind that you lead without portfolio. And simply said, put, it is you are a leader without authority. You lead the people, at the same time, you serve the people. That is just the summary of your role as a product manager. Thank you. And with this, I think we come to end of today's class. And I hope we enjoyed today's class. See you in the next class. Thank you.